Namaste and welcome to today's Love Satsang Truth Transmissions of the Golden Heart. And today's topic is about the past. The past that influences us in the here and now and also in our future. How we actually can make peace with the past and integrate the past, and most of all, release the past that doesn't serve us. We can distinguish between past experiences that nourish us, that enliven us, that enrich us. And in fact, actually, all experiences enrich us. But from a human perspective, and also even from a soul perspective, the past sometimes can really block our own evolution. And this is today's topic, releasing the past to rewrite your story, or to write, at least from now onwards, a new storyline for you. And I've maybe dropped that image from time to time in my last transmissions. I like to see the soul path as a story. We are all great storytellers, and humanity in general has always been involved in storytelling, so that you may even follow today along with your own storyline to see, maybe you have even one specific topic in mind that you feel like this is blocking me from the past. Then I invite you to keep that in the back of your mind, to always, whatever I share, to compare to your specific situation, so that you can actually apply these concepts and inspirations directly to your own life, and not only watch or listen, but also go into embodied application. Yeah, that is my goal, not just to share with you, just to have a sweet, a sweet listening, but also to really benefit from it for your own life. So as always, as I like to start before we really dive deeper, is to just tune together in this space, in our heart space, especially in our energetic field together. And for that, if you can, I invite you, as always, to close your eyes and focus on your breath for a short moment, very, very consciously. To just take some deep breath here, to land in the now, because actually right now you may already be occupied by the past, by what you ate, what you did yesterday, how you slept, whatever occupies you from the past. So really, with each breath, breathe it out, let it go, to be present here and now with me. And also stay with closed eyes, to envision your own life as a line, a horizontal line, or maybe a roller coaster line, the up and downs of life, a human concept of time, that there is a past, a present, and a future on that timeline. And you're sitting here and now in the present moment of that timeline, like a vertical line on that timeline, where you see to the left your past, to your right your future. You don't necessarily have to have specific images, but just know you are here now, and there is something in the past, something in the future. And that in this moment, the present moment, you stand in between the worlds, in between that void state, actually, where everything is already there, everything is already complete, everything is possible. And this image you can refer to throughout today's discussion if you like, or afterwards. we will work with that further. Take a deep breath in and out, opening the eyes to come back to the space. So, we have past experiences that, in a way, or the past, we can also say the past is the sum or an accumulation of experiences that happened in the past, and that we make a story, a storyline that we also bring in the now in terms of beliefs, thoughts, emotions, anticipations for the future, and decisions and actions. So, our past, as you may know, shapes a lot how we view ourselves, how we view others, and how we view in total our reality, the world, our worldview, our world perception. And so we can also say that the past, because we have this thinking of linear time in our human space, that the past is one key mechanism where we can tune in and fine tune how we perceive reality now and what reality we want to create, what reality we want to manifest. And we are talking, of course, specifically today about past experiences that influence us so much that we feel stuck, looping, or even traumatized still of it. So, in a way, negative experiences that influence us in a negative way today. And when we see ourselves as the creator through us, writing that story and also living that story. So you have both the pen and the pencil and the paper to write your story, but also you are that imagined character you play in that story. And so you have different levels in a way where you can tap into to change something in a specific framework, because also what I want to mention here already, that in my opinion at least, and from my experience so far, is that not everything you can directly influence. So free will is also a topic to discuss. And maybe that will be a future satsang as well. So my cats are back again in the house. You will maybe from time to time see a tail or a meow. Yes. And when we, again, free will, that was where I was stopping. So free will is still a topic to discuss, but at some point there's a limit also, in my opinion at least, where you can influence. But today is where the framework we have, where we can directly influence our path. What we have to do, as always, in the beginning is to self-reflect. What is actually blocking us at the moment? What experience from the past is still lingering in our energetic field? Oftentimes, these are experiences where we have a strong emotional connection to, maybe even an involvement with a person. So, the stronger your emotions are involved in past experiences, the more actually your system tends to cling to it. Either it's like positive, or either it's or negative emotions very strongly in either direction. If there are strong emotions involved in the past, we tend to stick to a past experience and make it so vivid actually that it is still a felt reality. The more emotions are involved, the more you nourish it actually also with your thoughts and further emotions. It becomes kind of like a entity, we can even say, like an entity of the past that is charged with your energy by emotions, by thoughts, maybe by decisions you take right here and now. And then you have kind of like an energetic construct of the past in the present with you. And this construct influences you because you can really see it like an entity. It's energetically present. And your system doesn't distinguish if it's in the past or in the now, because everything independent of the human concept, happens in the now. So it is like a living entity that accompanies you, and you may not even be aware of it. But your energy system still feeds, nourishes that entity of past experiences. So it becomes very, very vivid and present still, especially also if resentment or something around not having forgiven someone or yourself is part of it, or guilt or shame. All these lower frequency vibrations or emotions, when they are still attached to that past experience, then they become also much more present in the here and now. And the first step to change something in your experience, to loosen this construct or this entity that you have created from your past, is to become self aware. It's always the first step, to become very self aware of what is it actually that keeps running in the background of my system, like a background or like an app you haven't closed really. Yeah, like an app you haven't closed, still running on your mobile phone, still draining, drawing energy from you. Yeah, everything you haven't closed from the past fully is sucking energy from you, and you're most of the time not even aware of it. So becoming aware of it is the very first step, as always. Self-reflection helps you to become self-aware. Self-awareness of what is still in my energetic field from the past that influences me now, and especially influences me in a way that blocks or hinders my further evolution. Self-awareness, journaling, meditation, inner journeys, and that needs sometimes courage, because your system also, if it has been an experience in the way of trauma, for example, then it is something that your system has naturally suppressed or shut down in the subconscious, so the emotions don't have to be felt again. So it's kind of like a survival mechanism, and the deeper, the more, yeah, entangled your emotions are, the deeper oftentimes also you have to dig to find what is actually the root experience or the root cause of some past experiences that still linger in my energy field right here and now. Another example, very common example, is also attached to people. Either it's a very close person of relatives, family member, or very close also a partner, ex-partner. These people, especially the emotions attached to these people and the experiences you made with these people, but actually that also comes back to the emotions you attach to that. If something is still open, not closed, it will linger in your here and now. It's also something that influences your energetic field, your decisions, your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. And with that, sometimes the tricky part is that it not only depends on you, but also on the other side, on the other person. Yeah, if that person at least is still alive. Sometimes it's a shared, even if the person is already gone from this reality, there's a shared agreement, sometimes a soul contract of that experience that lingers in your present. Yeah. So that's maybe a side note, that soul contracts also are interwoven in why the past may influence you more than you want, more than you know, even in your subconscious field or on a higher plane, on the soul level, soul contract wise. So, first step, self awareness, self consciousness. And then, if you have deciphered at least bits and pieces of, okay, this is a past experience that still influences me quite a lot right now, then it is about healing. The next step is about healing, about really deeply looking at it, to bring it from the subconscious in the conscious, or from the shadows into the light, and see it. See it as a compassionate observer or a compassionate own guide for yourself, and look at it. Look at it honestly, openly, with self-compassion of, okay, this is why it influences me still, or this is, maybe you don't even have to find the why. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it may not be necessary to release it fully, but to really feel into, okay, this is the experience, and these are the attached emotions, and this influenced me right here and now in this and that way. Yeah, so maybe very, very structured. If you are that type of person, you can list down very structured. This is the experience. These are the emotions I attach to it. This is maybe also the person or the people I attach to it. And this is how it influences me now. And actually, this is what needs healing. What is it that needs healing? Is it oftentimes your inner child? Your inner child that hasn't been heard, seen, felt, acknowledged, or it is a part of you that you yourself haven't acknowledged or loved so far, maybe a part, a more shadowy part that you haven't integrated but pushed aside. So these are the two main, actually main aspects to look at: inner child and parts of yourself you don't really like or that you feel like are not worthy of being loved, which oftentimes also comes back to the inner child, because we bring a lot what we don't like about ourselves from our childhood, because we have been shown or treated in a way that this part of us wasn't lovable. Yeah, so inner child healing is the main part for many, many, many people still. Yeah, of course, the more we heal, the better the generations to come actually are in that healing game. So at some point, we come back to our natural state of being, so that our children don't have to do that work so much, at least. But of course, it's also from a soul's perspective, again, always about growing and learning and making experiences in a specific framework, so that actually we choose on a soul level some specific circumstances, people, and experiences to make a specific experience and grow from that. Yeah. Healing. Healing is that second step after you have discovered what it is from the past. And actually, by healing, you already rewrite something. You rewrite already by healing or by reframing. Sometimes it doesn't need healing. Sometimes the healing is reframing. Reframing, what I mean by that is that instead of telling yourself XYZ, the story, victim mentality oftentimes, to flip that script and tell yourself a different perspective. Sometimes that also helps if you tell someone else your storyline, to let that other person tell the same story from a different perspective, from their perspective, maybe even. Because sometimes we are so caught in our own perspective of a situation that we cannot see left and right or other perspectives. And that's a training, of course. You can also, very helpful, yeah, that you can be more attuned to different perspectives of the same situation, so that you zoom out of your storyline and become an observer from different angles, yeah, 380-degree kind of, and not get so caught into this own storyline. Yeah, healing can also be to switch perspective between I'm the character in the story and I'm the writer or the observer of the story, the audience of the story. Because by tapping into being the audience, the observer, you get distance from your own emotions. And for detachment, because healing the past or releasing the past, rewriting the past, always needs a certain amount of detachment. And detachment is possible when you withdraw your, not your only your energy, but your emotions. Emotions play a vital role in everything what we experience as a story for our human being. So if you tap into the observer, into the audience, and can neutralize a little bit more of your emotions, and that's not always easy, of course, it's a concept, so then you already loosen this grip the past has on you. And sometimes maybe also something helps, like visualizing water or fire or any element washing or burning away this part, this the stuckness, the looping, or whatever it is that you've identified that needs to be released, or maybe to just shake it off. Yeah, shaking, embodiment, somatics, to shake it into the earth, to let it drop into the earth. There are so many tools, I cannot even list all of them. So there are, of course, within this healing stage, so many possible possibilities how you can address releasing the past. Yeah, but shaking is also very, very, very helpful, because not only on the mental level you need to rewire your subconscious, your belief system, but also on the physical level, where the energy is stored or stuck in that sense of the past, needs a way to release. And shaking is one way, or any breath, sound, movement release, where you integrate your whole body, so your body knows and feels it is safe again to be in a new storyline, to free myself from the past. Because when we are so much dedicated with our attention to past experiences, our whole system, also the physical body, gets entangled in that. And it's about untangling then, to free yourself. And after healing, the third step, and that's actually a common way to see it: to first identify, to second, to heal, to release or reframe, and to third, envision what you want to instead. Yeah, so in the healing phase, you clear yourself in a way, you empty yourself as far as you can, and then you invite what you actually want to write. Which storyline do you want to write? What do you want to reframe? What do you want different to experience differently? What do you want truly from your soul, from your heart, from your soul's desires, what it is? And in that stage, it is very beneficial if you detach from your mind, because the mind is oftentimes limited to what it already knows, which goes back to your past or what you have maybe seen somewhere else with someone or online. But it is limited. And of course, our quantum field is infinite possibility. So in this envisioning stage, it is beneficial if you really open yourself up. What if? What if this and that is really possible? And dream big, to dream big, to really dream big, not in the sense of the ego to prove something to yourself or to someone else, but really to invite all that is already in your field. We know exactly, actually, when we really honest, we know exactly what we want and what we envision, what we wish for ourselves or the world. Even to become honest with yourself, sit down and note down, or be creative about, this is what I actually came here to write. This is my new storyline, this is my new chapter, this is my new book, maybe even the sequel, yeah, of what happened so far. To play again, to be curious what is possible. And that only can be, the curiosity can only come in a way also, like I feel, once you really made peace with the past. And sometimes it's maybe a back and forth between healing or reframing and envisioning. Yeah, it spirals back and forth sometimes, but still it's going upwards, back and forth between those two, because oftentimes when we envision something, we need a new personality, we need to reshape our identity. Without that, oftentimes it's not really sustainable what we actually envision. To rewrite your story, your past identity has to die. To live in another story, your past identity has to change. That's kind of like a baseline, almost like a natural law. And an identity is, as you may know, based on your intrinsic beliefs, like the thoughts you constantly think, from that the emotions you constantly have in your energetic field, and from there actually also how your own entire energy is vibrating in your frequency, your vibration. And from that, your actions, your decisions, your choices, your environment, everything stems from your identity, core belief system especially. And that's a whole different, maybe a separate Love Satsang that I will give about identity shaping. I talk a lot about it also in my podcast, identity shifting or shaping and soul aligned identity. It's a beautiful and also very creative process actually, where you sit down and note down, this is my character. Yeah, the Sims, I also already mentioned this computer game where you really sit down for your own self as if you would design a Sims in a computer game, but it's you, and your soul knows what characters you wish to have. I mean, who is the one who thinks about, okay, this is what I wish? It's kind of like the divine through you, through your soul, through your human being. And this envisioning phase, therefore, has a lot to do with tapping into your innate wisdom of, this is actually who I truly am and who I want to explore next, which identity you want to explore next, and what this identity is made up of. Yeah, a lot of creative work you can put in there. Envisioning and healing, like I said, back and forth very often, because also when we've worked on the healing part, reframing our past storyline, our past identity, and have formed our new identity, especially the identities oftentimes clash. The old fights against the new. The old is still in the rulership oftentimes, and the new wants to establish. So it needs determination, we can say. Determination, consistency, persistency, maybe a little bit stubbornness to really make this new identity your new self, to make it your new normal, to reframe, what is my standard? What is my new normal? And sometimes then the past lingers in, creeps in, and that is also at the beginning quite common, until that, yeah, these from the past, from the future overlap, and this future will vibrate more dominantly and the past will fall away at some point. It takes some time. As you may know, habits need time to really internalize. At first, it's a cognitive process of consciously deciding, this is my new reality, my new normal, my new identity, this is my new operating system, my new program for this human avatar. And really be strong enough to notice also your own sabotaging mechanisms. Yeah, your own sabotaging mechanisms that creep in from the past. We can also see that sometimes people in a way keep going, and then at some point they stop, because then they don't see the results, and then they think like, I'm just going back to my comfort zone, although comfort zone is oftentimes at some point a prison zone. To just relax in a way, as the mind thinks or the ego thinks, relax in the comfort zone, and then nothing changes in long term. So self-sabotaging mechanisms is a big topic that interplays in releasing the past and rewriting your new storyline. And that's the cheeky ego that comes in. And that is also ego versus soul again, also this weaving. It's always, I can just repeat, it's actually, if you understand these principles, you have understood most of the universe, I can even say. The manifestation game, how reality is created, how you create reality through your identity, how ego and soul interplay. This is the baseline of everything. Also, not everything, but most of what I share is always coming back to soul versus ego, your past identity to your future or soul aligned identity, your distortions, illusions versus your true essence, love, truth, divine co-creation. That's a holistic view, also the view of how humanity currently evolves, or what we transition through, because a lot of people, and I've talked about the void state, are in this in between. They have maybe identified, okay, the past is blocking me, is hindering me from going forward, but I don't really know what to do about it. And I already see some of the future. I know what I want, or I get clear on what I want, but still in this in between. And what I can also throw in here is that even if you do this work of identifying, healing, reframing, envisioning, consciously manifesting, being consistent in your work, even then, and some, I feel, in the spiritual world neglect that, or don't even mention that, or glorify the manifestation. Okay, you just have to shift your identity and then reality will follow. There are some aspects we cannot really influence, in my opinion, at least, and my experience. There are certain unknown components, some keys we don't have at all time, and they are maybe dropped at specific times in the future in divine timing, because either you are still not ready, or someone else is not really ready who is interwoven in that storyline, or the collective is not ready, or yeah, you're too far ahead in your internal world, the outer world cannot really catch up, because you also have to take into account that your mental and emotional and especially spiritual level are much faster in shifting than the dense physical level. And that is also where some people may stop when they, okay, I'm determined, I have deciphered, this is the story I want to write for my future, this is the identity or the character I want to live. Keep going, and they keep going, and they keep going, and sometimes they're totally motivated, and some point they're like, I don't see any shifts in reality, in this physical reality, and then they stop. And sometimes it's exactly when you are asked to keep going, to keep going, or to maybe to, yeah, fine tune what it is. Sometimes it's also about fine tuning. Is it really what you envision coming from your soul, from your truth, from your heart, or is it still a little bit of the ego, of showing off, of validation, of proving something? It's either it's not yet time for the reality to really manifest, or it's a, this is not really, you still have to revise, yeah, to practice your storyline, fine tune it so it really matches the reality to your soul actually wants to manifest. Yeah. So maybe to repeat that again, we have the first step was to identify what is blocking you from the past, or which experience from the past is now ready to be released. The second step is to heal that, whatever needs to be healed from the past, oftentimes inner child. Yeah, and self-compassion, to have self-compassion, self-love, to embrace these parts that you suppressed, that you split off, that, yeah, got punished or whatever, to be your own parent, to reparent yourself, and to totally embrace and love this part, is, no matter which emotions come up, to really say, this is exactly what I feel right now, and it is okay to feel that right now, and to transmute it, to transform the shadow into the light. The third part is the envisioning. What story do you want to write? Which character do you want to play? And to really come from your place of your heart, from your soul, because this is long lasting. Anything from ego is either not manifesting at all or not lasting long. And to really go wild in a way, to dream big, or to not let your mind limit yourself in this storyline. And maybe if you're creative and you like writing stories, to really write that story. Really write that story or book about yourself, either in the way of present tense, which is always a very good idea to let your system know this is already done, it's complete, or past tense, as if it already happened. Yeah, not future, because it's then distancing yourself. Present or past tense, I would suggest, at least. And then part of that, or as a next step we can also frame, is identity shifting. You have your vision, you have your script, you have written down what you really envision or want. And then it's about to map that with yourself, to map your identity to you, the character you've created on paper or in your mind, in your vision. And that needs belief system, to look at your belief system and think like, okay, this is what I mean. In the character design already, you probably have noted down what are the common beliefs of that character, what are the habits, the daily routines, which environment, which people you encounter, what does that person wear. It's really, really a creative act of character design. And then to slowly integrate that into your physical reality. The most the easiest part, I would say, is always to look at your closet and see which clothes are still in alignment with that identity, that character, and which clothes you can sort out. And maybe to buy one set of clothes, or maybe your whole closet if you want, that really prime you to embody that character. And then it's about step by step integrating these beliefs, these habits, embodying that. That's identity shifting, not only internally, but identity embodiment, to also embody that version of yourself. And then with divine time, in divine timing, your outer world will mirror, will reflect your inner world. And as I mentioned, sometimes we don't really can influence when that is, because there are different determinations, different influencing factors that interplay with you, so that manifestation can really take place. The last step is not an actual active step, but it is a natural consequence of your internal world, internal work of your internal world. Yes, this is in a way, and maybe that's also just a remembrance for you, just the sequence of how it works. And if you understand that it's not easy, but it is more simplified, how you get from A to B, how you get from the past or even the now into your future self reality, which already exists, on a different vibration. And that needs determination, consistency, sometimes courage, really, to jump into the unknown, especially. And therefore also trusting, if you let something go, that you will be caught by the divine, that you will receive something in return that matches your energy much more, or that is in the next evolution of yourself for growth and surrendering. And you may also know a lot talk about surrendering the outcome. So even if you've in every detail designed your character and your future reality, to even then say, okay, even if it doesn't happen this way, I'm fine, because I trust what happens actually will be to my highest good. Because even though we may think we are writing our storyline without limitations, still, of course, our mind interferes. But the divine, the quantum field, knows best what is best for you. And that is sometimes a little bit or a larger bit different than what you originally designed. And there comes the unknown part into it. And I mentioned that also at some point. The human self, the ego self, the little self wants control, wants to know, and wants certainty, wants safety. And the soul likes to play. The soul likes the unknown. And actually, like from a very high soul level, the soul always knows, but it likes to see how the human self is limited in the unknowingness to reveal the knowing. And that's again my favorite part of switching between soul and human being, because the soul doesn't judge. We also had that in some ways in the previous satsangs. The soul doesn't judge, oh, these are past experiences that are negatively influencing me now, or this future is better than my past. It just is what it is for the soul. It's just an experience. And from the human perspective, of course, we are involved with emotions. And that's what I said in the beginning. The more you involve yourself emotionally in something from the past, the more you feed it with energy. And the more you feed it with energy, the more present in the here and now it becomes, or it stays. The less energy, emotions, thoughts you draw to the past, feed into the past, the less power it has over you. The less power it has over you. As you know, energy flows where attention goes. So the more attention you have on your past, oh, this happened to me, and that happened to me, and this experience was like this, and this experience was like this. Sometimes people have conversations like this. And that's, in a sense, at some point, victim mentality. And I also mentioned we all have our storylines of past experiences that really hurt, that were painful, that were traumatic, that were not something that we wish anyone. Because it is part of this soul evolution. That soul that doesn't judge, by the way, again. But the more you cling into this loop of, oh, this happened to me, and this person did this to me, and you see, it's a loop. You keep looping in a reality that exists in an energetic field around you. So you have to shift this focus on what you truly want. It doesn't mean to deny or suppress anything from the past. That is not what I mean. That's in the healing phase where we have to make peace with the past and release and integrate first and then release what doesn't serve us to be able to move on in a proper way. But to slowly, step by step, shift this focus. Shift the focus here and now to the breath, for example. The simplest way is to just focus on your breath and be here and now. And maybe the mind still skips to the past or skips to the future, or what could have been and what if this should be, and all did. Breathing brings you back. So many people have said that before me, and you know that in yourself as well. Anchoring yourself in the present moment gives you peace. Because sometimes what we want, actually, releasing the past, we want peace in our heart again. We want just what we already know inside of us, this peace of deep fulfillment, of just nourished by the present moment, of love, of truth, of authenticity, of what we know deep down, what our true essence is. And that happens here. That happens here right now. That happens the now. And that may be a side practice during this whole transitioning phase, to always come back to the present moment. To always breathe deeply, consciously. To always remember the essence exists when I am still in the overthinking, in the over-attachment, in the over-activation of my body, when I just am. When I just am. What can influence us a lot in this transitioning also, I already mentioned a little bit, the past identity often clings or resists to that reality, while the new self wants to establish itself, its dominance over it. What also creeps in oftentimes is fear, doubt, interconnected in a way, limited mindset again, and limited mindset and giving up too soon. I already mentioned that as well. Yeah. And then it's about looking at yourself and like maybe even replaying what you've already achieved. Of I don't have to doubt because I already did XYZ. Sometimes it's a comparison that helps us to see I don't have to doubt myself or this path. To counteract it also with trust. Trusting whatever you've written down in your future character or the character that you're already step by step wanting to embody, that it doesn't come from nothing. It comes from your inner being. Everything you dream of is already there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in your field. Everything you dream of has a possibility to manifest. It only needs this certain vibration of yourself and a certain readiness of your own and the collective field to manifest. And maybe it's not to manifest for you, but for someone else. And then you can see, it's possible. Maybe it's not in this lifetime for you, but it's possible for someone to be grateful for that as well. Fear, also doubt, yeah. Fear is ego again. Your true self doesn't have fear at all. Fear is also survival of maybe not believing in yourself, not believing in that this is possible for you, or not believing in your future. Yeah, sometimes we get very hyped and yeah, I note this down and I know exactly what I want, what my standards are, what my new normal is, what my boundaries are, what my needs, my grand vision is. And sometimes in between, and that is also okay, sometimes in between there comes like, I don't know, nothing really changes. I don't see any results or very little results. I don't know if I'm on the right path. And then moments sometimes drop in of deeper surrender, of please, divine, I need support, I need guidance, I need some signs, I need some direction. And sometimes that is what your soul wants to experience, to be honest, in my opinion at least. Sometimes your soul wants to experience to feel lost on that path. Sometimes I know exactly what I want, and sometimes in between it's like I don't know, I have doubts, and that's a human part of you. That is part of your human existence. And then again after that comes again this, like okay, I received this guidance, maybe I've done this meditation and received these images, or I established a higher connection, deeper connection with my own self, my higher self, my soul. Yeah, oftentimes in these lower dip down moments comes a deeper connection with your truth, because this is sometimes the only thing that you can still hold on to, because that never goes. No matter what in the outside you lose, this true deepest essence and the connection to yourself and the divine, that is something you never can lose. And sometimes really the teaching is by losing everything around you to come back to that. And from this place then to go forward again. To go up again and say, okay, I walked through the fire, I resurrected myself into the phoenix again. I keep going because your soul keeps you going. In the darkest moments, losing hope, losing faith, losing material things, people, job, whatever. And then again, it's sometimes a constant, this time quality at least, yeah, for many people. I don't want to generalize, but I feel for a lot of people it's the roller coaster, and sometimes the roller coaster is really high, and then slowly it becomes like this, and slowly it becomes like this, and then you feel, you see, you know, you notice. I made it through the hardest part, and slowly something is stabilizing again. Slowly something what I originally dreamed of is manifesting. And then it is also to mention here your nervous system capacity to receive finally what you dreamed of. After all this struggling and work and reflection and almost giving up and standing up again, and I know that also from myself. That's why I'm sharing it. Like everything what I share is not that I'm always in my, but I've journeyed, and still myself is journeying. And then it's in a later stage when you feel like something is stabilizing, something feels more calm. Sometimes it's just a calm before the next storm. But if it's like at the end of one manifestation cycle, if you can say it like this, then it is about your nervous system capacity to receive. Can you allow yourself actually to receive what you've originally dreamed of, what you've designed for yourself, your reality you want to experience? Because sometimes what we lose track of during this roller coaster ride is like, I don't know if actually this is truly meant for me. And when it arrives finally, when you've passed the tests, I don't really like to call it tests because I feel sometimes it's not a test, it's just a way of how the universe works, that you are asked to open yourself and drop into your feminine, drop into your own internal feminine of receiving, of saying, okay, I've done everything what I can, I've stood up again and again, I've walked through the fire after the fire, and now I'm here. I cannot do anything more. I'm handing that over to the divine, and the divine has to co-create with me now. Yeah, because what can happen also, some people are like more in the, okay, I stay in my comfort zone, or I drift back into my comfort zone because it's too much work. And some are hustlers, burning out in healing work and doing the next course and the next training to find a solution and to shift into a desired reality. So it's two extremes. And both oftentimes end into, I have no idea anymore. I need help. I need support, divine orchestration. It's your turn. And that is something we also here to learn, that you can have the deepest self-responsibility. You can have done everything you can in your hands, and still something maybe is missing in a way. And then you look for, okay, what is missing? What is missing? And sometimes it's not missing something about you, what you have to do. The only thing is to exhale and let the divine orchestrate around you. Like I said, to drop into your feminine, to receive, to calibrate your nervous system, to receive what you asked for. Because usually what we ask for is a higher vibration in some form than what we are used to. And if our body, our nervous system is trained to a lower vibration, a higher vibration may at first feel threatening. So that we, even when we receive it, we may even deny it, push away, or find excuses or self-sabotage again. So that is something in a later stage that you can be aware of when you want to rewrite your story. Not only rewrite it, but actually live it, draw it into your reality fully, that you catch yourself when you fall into patterns because your nervous system is used to something else. To step by step nourish your nervous system with something that is aligned with a new frequency. Simple example is money. So maybe you're used to have a certain amount of money, or earning a specific amount of money, or losing a lot of money, or being in the minus of money. That step by step you are grateful for each and everything. Financially, you draw into your field, to start with small financial gains and increment that, to feel empowered, actually, to feel empowered by receiving. Because humanity, or our society, has really been conditioned that receiving is something you have to earn. And that is so deeply ingrained in each and every one of us, that giving is more valuable than receiving. And that's just not true. because we live in duality, and both poles of the dual nature of life are equally valid, equally important. If everyone just would give and give and give and give, first of all, your own energetic account is at some point depleted. You need also to receive to fill yourself up again in a way, so that you actually can give again. So that's a cycle of giving and receiving. But also, if everyone just gives, we have a accumulation of things, of energy, of whatever. It needs to go somewhere. And it's a natural law that what is given is also received again in another form. So if you give to person A, maybe person A gives back to you, but maybe also person C gives back to you, or you give it, you get it back in another form, you know? So it's a cycle of giving and receiving, and the same with manifestation. Yeah, you have to keep in mind that allowing yourself to receive is important. To decondition yourself to believe, I only have to give, or I need to do XYZ to receive that. That's a deep, deep, deep matrix program that we have all installed on us. And I talked about programming in another episode. To reprogram ourselves that receiving is equally valid than giving, and valuable, and also safe. That it is safe to receive. Safe to receive, and that you don't have to earn it, that you don't have to do anything, that by your just being, by your vibration, even by, yeah, if you are someone watching this, you're probably someone really eager also to raise your vibration. And you can see, like, if you raise your vibration, you are very, very valuable in your energy for humanity. Not what you do, but your vibration is valuable. So allow yourself to receive when it is the time to receive. I sometimes also compare that with eating finally the fruits of the seeds you have sown, yeah, and grown. Eating the fruits of the seeds you have at some point sown. And sometimes we even lose track of which seeds we have sown. But it's important to not just move on and look at the fruits. It's an image, of course, but also to enjoy eating them. The fruits of your own labor, of your own work, of your shifts and transformations, of your healing work, of your research, of whatever has been on your journey. Because these fruits are actually from the seeds from the past. The seeds you can also see, like if we have this timeline again of our human journey, at some point you drop the seeds of, this is the future reality or the future identity I want to experience. And you nurture it, you water it, you nourish it, yeah? And it grows. Sometimes maybe it falls, sinks again down. Maybe some seeds don't grow at all. And then you maybe switch some environments. Yeah, it's all an image, of course. I hope you get what I mean. And at some point, it's a grown plant or tree, and then it grows the fruits you actually asked for at some point in the past. And so we have the whole arc of how the past also influences in a positive way the future, even though it may appear and feel differently for your human self. This is, in a way, in a nutshell, how to release the past and rewrite your story. And by rewriting, actually, or by writing your future, you rewrite automatically your past. You can also, without going into the future, go into the past and flip the script that I mentioned. To flip the script and look at your past from a different, maybe outside perspective, someone else who sees that in a totally new light, and you can also see it in a totally new light. This is what I wanted to share today with you. So, of course, this is a journey. It's a journey. It's not done in just 1 hour. It's a continued journey and a cycling of these steps, a cycling of these steps. Just this time quality, I feel it fits a lot for a lot of people. It's a big cycle that we are going through of the roller coaster. And maybe in a few years, most probably for several people in a few years, the roller coaster goes more like this and comes to not a still stand, but like a comfortable ride to breathe again. If you have, as always, if you have any questions or add-ons to this, also from your own experience, you're so much welcome to share them in the comments for later for anyone and everyone who joins, maybe who is going through a similar phase, to just see you are not alone. You are not alone in this. So much love and so much bliss as usual, and see you the next time here in the Love Satsang or anywhere else where you find me.